Once upon a time, knowledge was dangerous. Every new idea carried both hope and peril, challenging the boundaries of faith. In medieval Europe, possessing certain books could mean death. The 12th century was a world built on silent fear. Cities stood behind stone walls, streets cloaked in fog. Monasteries rose as both sanctuaries and prisons of thought. The church demanded absolute obedience. Anything beyond God's word was heresy. Philosophical and medical texts were forbidden, and questioning could be deadly. Yet some refused silence. They became guardians of hidden knowledge, walking monastery corridors at night with manuscripts in hand. The Silent Pen Brotherhood was born from courage. Their names were unknown, their lives hidden. Their mission: to preserve knowledge at all costs. Scrolls and parchments were carefully placed in secret chambers, away from inquisitors' eyes. Every step was deliberate, every breath measured. Moonlight filtered through narrow windows, illuminating dust that danced like spirits. The walls themselves seemed to whisper secrets. The manuscripts contained secrets of the cosmos and the human body. Alchemy, early medicine, and philosophy filled the shelves. For these monks, seeking knowledge was an act of devotion. Not every book could survive alone. Secret couriers transported them across villages and forests under the cover of night. Their paths were dangerous, filled with thieves and inquisitors. One misstep could destroy the book and cost their life. They moved silently, guided by memory and instinct. Manuscripts passed from hand to hand, across generations, protected by dedication. Some texts revealed forbidden experiments. Monks dissected cadavers to understand the soul and body connection. Though blasphemous, they pursued knowledge with unwavering devotion. Night after night, the guardians labored. Candlelight flickered over delicate parchment, illuminating symbols and diagrams. Each page was a rebellion against ignorance and fear. The 13th century brought the Inquisition. Not only books, but those who touched them faced burning. Some monks were captured, others forced to reveal hidden shelves. Betrayals were common, yet manuscripts survived. Flames consumed libraries, but the brothers acted swiftly. History depended on their courage. Some works survived by chance. Hidden under floorboards or within hollow walls, manuscripts whispered of centuries past. Each was a fragment of wisdom. The Brotherhood moved in shadows, preserving knowledge for the future. Their work was silent, monumental, and unseen by most, yet it shaped human history. Each manuscript told a story beyond words. Symbols, diagrams, and marginal notes spoke of fear, courage, and faith. Texts became living relics, connecting past and present. Couriers navigated forests and mountains. Wolves howled, storms raged, and danger lurked. Yet their mission never wavered. Knowledge had to survive. The manuscripts contained rare knowledge: medicine, astronomy, and philosophy. They revealed insights centuries ahead of their time. Protecting them meant safeguarding humanity's future. Monks used coded symbols to identify texts. Only those trained could read them. These marks protected the manuscripts from inquisitors. Monasteries had hidden rooms and vaults. Candlelight flickered over stone walls lined with texts. Dust revealed centuries of secrecy and devotion. Brotherhood members sacrificed comfort and safety. Living austerely, they dedicated their lives to manuscripts. Their devotion was monumental and unseen. Nightly, they copied texts and repaired fragile pages. Each stroke of ink was a silent defiance. Their efforts ensured knowledge survived. Some manuscripts preserved ancient philosophies. Others held medical manuals or alchemical secrets. Each was priceless and worth the risk. Couriers faced bandits, animals, and storms. Journeys could last days or weeks, yet their dedication never faltered. Manuscripts were written in multiple languages. Glossaries, annotations, and codes preserved their meaning. Every saved word was a triumph. The Inquisition grew relentless. Families feared association with scholars. Monks hid texts under altars, in walls, or beneath floors. Each hiding was defiance. Manuscripts sometimes traveled abroad. Knowledge spread silently, connecting cultures. Brotherhood influence, though hidden, shaped intellectual history. Books were often burned, but some survived. Hidden in cloaks, carts, or sewn into clothing, they endured. Each was a victory over destruction. Texts contained wisdom about medicine, stars, and nature. They revealed truths before the world was ready. Each was a treasure. Coded letters documented struggles. Few could read them, ensuring secrecy. They became maps to hidden knowledge for the future. Monks worked late into the night. Shadows flickered on stone walls. Every copied page was an act of rebellion. Knowledge was power, yet fragile. Preserving it could change societies or save lives. They accepted this risk knowingly. Forbidden experiments were carefully recorded. Early doctors documented dissections and remedies. Some knowledge could heal, some harm. Couriers memorized secret routes. Guided by stars and instinct, they moved with precision. Survival required courage and skill. Symbols and codes protected manuscripts. Only trained eyes could decode them. Knowledge became both shield and weapon. Monasteries themselves were fortresses. Hidden chambers and underground passages preserved centuries of wisdom. Dust covered stories untold. Monks lived austere lives, bearing great responsibility. Every preserved word was a triumph over ignorance. Devotion never wavered. Ancient voices spoke through manuscripts. Philosophers, doctors, and alchemists were heard across centuries. Monks were their guardians. Danger was constant. Soldiers, thieves, and inquisitors threatened knowledge. Yet the Brotherhood remained resolute. Books were hidden creatively. Floors, walls, ceilings. Candlelight revealed guiding symbols. Each chamber was a fortress of thought. Copying manuscripts was arduous. Eyes strained, hands ached, but every word saved was a triumph. The monks persevered. Texts revealed astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. They showcased human intellect and curiosity. Each page was precious. Brotherhood networks spanned Europe. Knowledge traveled silently, safeguarded by trust. Secrecy was their lifeline. Betrayal existed, but bravery prevailed. Each rescued manuscript triumphed over fear. Knowledge survived despite danger. Rescued books carried hope and legacy. They preserved human endeavor across centuries. Each manuscript was a beacon. Couriers disguised manuscripts cleverly. Fire, smoke, and inquisitors could not stop the flow. Life itself depended on their mission. Monks persevered through storms, snow, and darkness. Hidden hands protected manuscripts. Knowledge endured. Texts were ancient, written in languages few understood. Codes and glossaries ensured survival. Wisdom persisted. By the late 13th century, the Inquisition strengthened. Monasteries fortified secrets. Every saved manuscript was a triumph. Books were smuggled abroad, spreading ideas silently. Brotherhood influence reached far and shaped the future. Knowledge moved quietly. Manuscripts contained medicine, astronomy, and alchemy. They anticipated discoveries centuries ahead. Each was invaluable. Coded letters documented struggles. Maps and notes guided future seekers. Secrecy ensured survival. Monks worked deep into nights. Candlelight revealed dancing shadows. Each copied word was resistance. Knowledge was both fragile and powerful. Preservation could transform societies or save lives. Risks were accepted. Forbidden experiments documented with care. Remedies and observations could heal or harm. Wisdom was protected. Couriers memorized secret paths. Stars and instinct guided their journeys. Courage and precision were essential. Codes and symbols shielded manuscripts. Only trained eyes could decode them. Knowledge became weapon and shield. Monasteries were living fortresses of secrecy. Hidden rooms and underground passages safeguarded wisdom. Dust covered untold stories. Monks sacrificed comfort for knowledge. Lives were austere, yet monumental. Every preserved word was a triumph. Ancient voices spoke through texts. Philosophers, doctors, alchemists echoed across centuries. Monks were guardians. Danger was everywhere. Soldiers, thieves, inquisitors threatened texts. Yet resolve preserved them. Books hidden under floors, walls, ceilings. Candlelight revealed symbols guiding the faithful. Chambers were fortresses. Copying manuscripts was meticulous and painful. Eyes strained, hands trembled. Devotion never wavered. Texts revealed astronomy, medicine, philosophy. Human intellect and curiosity shone. Each page precious. Brotherhood network spanned Europe quietly. Knowledge moved through trusted hands. Secrecy ensured survival. Betrayals existed, yet courage prevailed. Rescued manuscripts triumphed over fear. Knowledge endured. Rescued books carried hope. They preserved human effort. Each manuscript a guiding light. Couriers disguised manuscripts cleverly. Flames and inquisitors could not stop the flow. Mission was life itself. Monks endured storms, darkness, snow. Manuscripts survived in hidden hands. Knowledge endured. The silent pen brotherhood reminds us, light emerges from darkness. Courage preserved knowledge. Seek truth, and illumination follows. The brotherhood had survived the initial threats, but their mission was far from over. Manuscripts had to travel beyond the safety of stone walls. Each step beyond the monastery walls was a step into uncertainty, where danger lurked in every shadow. Dawn broke over misty valleys as the monks prepared their journey. Cartloads of fragile scrolls were hidden under layers of cloth. The wind carried the scent of pine and damp earth, masking their movements from prying eyes. Villagers watched curiously, unaware of the sacred cargo passing through their streets. The monks bowed politely, avoiding unnecessary attention. Every gesture was calculated, a delicate dance with fate. The first leg of the journey led them through dense forests. Branches scratched at cloaks and hats. Rain made the paths slippery. Wolves prowled in the distance, their eyes glinting like tiny lanterns in the fog. They traveled by night whenever possible, guided by stars and the soft glow of the moon. Each manuscript was treated like a living being, handled with reverence. The Brotherhood understood the weight of knowledge and the fragility of life. A sudden storm forced them to seek shelter under the ruins of an old abbey. Rain hammered against stone walls, echoing like drums of warning. The monks huddled together, manuscripts pressed against their chests. Lightning illuminated ancient carvings on the abbey walls. They spoke of saints and martyrs, long forgotten. The monks whispered prayers for protection, both for themselves and the precious texts they carried. As dawn returned, they resumed their journey, crossing a river on a rickety wooden bridge. The currents roared below, threatening to sweep away the unprepared. Manuscripts were tightly secured, every movement precise and careful. The first sign of human danger appeared. A patrol of soldiers, eyes sharp and suspicion higher. The monks disguised themselves as simple travelers, blending into the passing crowd. Every heartbeat was a test of nerve. A clever child pointed at their cart, laughing. A sharp glance from a monk silenced curiosity instantly. The Brotherhood knew that even innocent attention could invite peril. They reached a small village at dusk. Smoke rose from chimneys, the smell of bread and firewood filling the air. The monks rested, always aware of inquisitors' spies who might be lurking in taverns or markets. A local blacksmith recognized one of them from a nearby monastery. Whispered greetings and subtle hand signals conveyed that he understood their secret. Allies were rare, but everyone was invaluable. Night fell, and the road became a river of shadows. The monks moved silently, manuscripts carried with care. Branches scraped, rocks shifted, but they pressed onward. One of the young couriers stumbled, nearly dropping a bundle of manuscripts. Quick hands saved the precious texts. A quiet sigh of relief passed among the group. Each saved scroll was a victory. The next day, they passed a burned village, its walls still smoking. The devastation reminded them of the stakes. Ignorance and cruelty could erase centuries of human wisdom in a single night. A distant rider approached, silhouetted against the rising sun. The monks froze, evaluating whether it was friend or foe. Every detail mattered: posture, speed, glint of metal. The rider passed without noticing, and the monks breathed silently. Relief was temporary. Danger was never far behind. Their journey demanded constant vigilance. Crossing a mountainous path, the air grew thin and cold. Snow dusted the peaks, and the wind howled with the voice of the ancients. Manuscripts were wrapped in layers of cloth and leather, sacred cargo against nature's cruelty. The monks whispered prayers for protection, both for themselves and the precious texts they carried. They discovered a hidden cave where they could rest and protect the texts. The entrance was narrow, concealed by rocks and moss. Within, the walls glimmered with mineral veins, like veins of knowledge waiting to be protected. Inside the cave, candlelight danced on stone, illuminating faint sketches left by travelers of past centuries. The monks whispered prayers and stories, honoring the knowledge they carried and the courage of those before them. A sudden noise outside startled the group. Footsteps crunched on gravel, echoing like a threat. They remained still, manuscripts pressed to their chests, hearts beating in rhythm with fear. Hours passed before the sound faded. The Brotherhood understood that each journey was a blend of physical endurance and mental fortitude. Silence became their shield, vigilance their weapon. As dawn approached, mist rolled down the mountain. The monks emerged, manuscripts safe, spirits wary but determined. Nature and man were both obstacles to the survival of knowledge. Crossing a dense forest, they encountered a hidden stream. Water sparkled under sunbeams, deceptively serene. Some manuscripts were briefly laid on cloth, guarded vigilantly against moisture. A small band of local villagers appeared, curious but harmless. The monks engaged in friendly conversation, masking the gravity of their cargo. Alliances, however small, were essential in their perilous travels. One courier whispered of a rumor, an inquisitor traveling through nearby towns. The group paused, considering alternate routes. Every choice carried weight. A wrong turn could mean disaster. They reached a small village at dusk. Smoke rose from chimneys, the smell of bread and firewood filling. As night fell, they set up camp in a secluded glade. Fires burned low, the crackle mingling with the sounds of nocturnal wildlife. Each monk kept watch, manuscripts protected even in sleep. They awoke to frost on their cloaks and parchment. Early light revealed the delicate beauty of the glade, but also its dangers. They packed quickly, understanding that time was a precious ally. The road led them to an abandoned monastery, where walls still held the echoes of forgotten chants. They stored manuscripts in secret alcoves, knowing that even empty buildings could hide both danger and refuge. In the monastery's shadow, a fox observed them silently. Nature watched, impartial and curious. The monks pressed on, aware of every rustle and glance. Their journey took them to rolling hills, where fields stretched like waves of green. They hid manuscripts beneath layers of cloth in carts, careful not to arouse attention. Every hill crossed was a step further from danger, yet still within it. A traveler on horseback nearly collided with them. Quick maneuvers prevented exposure. Smiles and polite nods disguised the weight of their mission. Rain returned, soaking the earth and chilling the monks to their bones. Manuscripts were wrapped and secured, every bundle treated as sacred. The storm tested both their endurance and resolve. Lightning revealed distant towers, ancient and imposing. The Brotherhood moved quickly, shadows blending into the landscape. Knowledge had to survive, regardless of the storm. In a small village, they found a hidden ally. A scholar who once studied in the monastery. He offered food and directions, understanding the unspoken mission. Such rare trust was invaluable. As they crossed a bridge over a swift river, whispers of danger reached their ears. A patrolling soldier's voice echoed from downstream. Silence and patience became their shield. The manuscripts trembled slightly with each step. Couriers adjusted their grips, aware that a single mishap could destroy centuries of wisdom. Every movement was deliberate, precise, sacred. At night, the monks huddled under a cliff overhang. Stars shone above, silent witnesses to their struggle. The cool wind carried whispers of courage from ancestors who had faced similar dangers. A sudden howl pierced the night, a wolf circling unseen. The monks remained still, blending with shadows. Survival depended on patience and stealth. Dawn broke again, revealing fog that clung to the valley. They moved slowly, manuscripts protected, senses alert. Every day was a battle with both nature and man. The path grew rocky and uneven as they ascended higher hills. Every step required balance and care. Manuscripts were cradled like newborns, their fragile pages shielded from gravel and mud. A distant bell tolled from a monastery hidden in the valley. Its sound echoed, a reminder of civilization and vigilance. The monks whispered prayers, asking for protection from both nature and man. The wind carried the scent of pine and smoke from distant fires. Shadows danced over the landscape, creating illusions of figures lurking in the mist. The Brotherhood moved cautiously, aware that danger could be anywhere. A narrow mountain pass forced them to walk in single file. Below, the cliffs dropped sharply, and above, loose rocks threatened to fall. Their every movement was deliberate, every breath measured. They spotted a distant rider approaching rapidly. The group froze, calculating risk. The rider slowed, then continued without noticing them, a fleeting moment of relief that tightened their resolve. The cold intensified as they neared the summit. Frost clung to cloaks, manuscripts were wrapped tightly to protect against moisture. The wind whispered warnings as if the mountain itself demanded respect. At night, they discovered an abandoned hermit's hut. Inside, they found old candles, a cracked wooden table, and a hidden nook perfect for safeguarding their precious cargo. They rested briefly, ever watchful. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the surrounding peaks. The monks huddled, manuscripts pressed to chests. Nature's fury reminded them that survival depended on vigilance and unity. A sudden movement in the shadows startled them. Eyes glinting from the darkness. Predator or human, they couldn't tell. Silence became their ally, patience their shield. They reached a cliffside path, narrow and treacherous. Every misstep could send them tumbling into the abyss. Manuscripts were held tight, prayers whispered under their breath. The night brought a blizzard, snow blinding, and wind biting. Couriers adjusted their grips and cloaks, protecting both themselves and the manuscripts. Endurance and willpower became their greatest tools. As dawn broke, the storm subsided, leaving icy mist and sparkling frost. The monks pressed onward, manuscripts safe but spirits weary. Each day was a triumph of caution and courage. Crossing a frozen stream, they carefully tested each stepping stone. The water roared below, ready to swallow the careless. They moved slowly, deliberately, ensuring every manuscript remained dry. In a forest glade, they paused briefly. Sunlight filtered through the trees, casting patterns like ancient symbols on the forest floor. Even in nature's beauty, vigilance was key. A group of travelers approached the glade. Friendly gestures disguised curiosity. The monks engaged politely, masking the gravity of their mission. Whispers of an inquisitor nearby reached their ears. The Brotherhood quickly adjusted their route, moving into denser forests. Each decision was crucial. Discovery could mean death. A secret trail led them to a hidden valley. The valley offered temporary refuge, surrounded by high cliffs and dense foliage. Here, manuscripts could rest safely for a few precious hours. In the valley, an old ally awaited, a scholar who had once studied at the monastery. He provided guidance, supplies, and encouragement. Allies like him were rare, yet invaluable. They resumed travel along a narrow ridge. Below, the land fell away into shadowy depths. Above, loose rocks threatened the unwary. Every manuscript was cradled with care, every movement calculated. A sudden noise, crunching gravel, halted their progress. A lone wolf prowled nearby. The monks remained still, blending into the landscape, hearts pounding with cautious awareness. Crossing rolling hills, they hid manuscripts and carts beneath thick cloth layers. Smoke from distant chimneys suggested villages nearby. Each interaction with locals was carefully calculated to avoid suspicion. At dusk, they reached a ruined tower. Its stones whispered of ancient times, and secret niches offered safe storage. Manuscripts were carefully placed, protected from wind, rain, and prying eyes. Nightfall brought eerie sounds, owls, wolves, and the distant howl of wind through mountains. The monks stayed alert, guarding both manuscripts and each other. Even sleep was light and vigilant. They moved past abandoned farms, fields barren and silent. Signs of past lives lingered: forgotten tools, scattered hay, cracked walls. History's remnants reminded them why preservation was essential. A messenger approached from a neighboring village, delivering warnings of inquisitors' movements. Quick whispers and subtle gestures informed the Brotherhood of new threats. Every piece of intelligence could save or endanger them. Crossing a fast-flowing river, the monks secured manuscripts tightly and moved cautiously. Stones were slippery, water cold and unforgiving. Every step demanded patience and care. In the distance, a ruined chapel offered temporary shelter. Within, the monks laid manuscripts on stone, observing them with reverence. Even in ruin, knowledge found sanctuary. The night was quiet, almost deceptively so. Every sound was scrutinized. The monks slept lightly, prepared to rise at any hint of danger. As dawn approached, the Brotherhood emerged from the valley. They had survived storms, wolves, inquisitors, and treacherous terrain. Manuscripts were intact, spirits weary but undaunted. Reaching the edge of a distant forest, the monks paused to observe the path ahead. The journey continued, peril and hope intertwined. They carried knowledge, light in a world shrouded in darkness, ready to face whatever came next. The Brotherhood approached the final stretch of their journey. Manuscripts were tightly wrapped, secured against the wind and rain. Every monk knew the stakes had never been higher. Dense fog enveloped the forest path, reducing visibility to a few feet. Shadows moved like ghosts, adding unease to already tense hearts. Lanterns flickered faintly, barely illuminating the manuscripts in their hands. One monk paused to examine a strange carving on a tree. Symbols reminded them of ancient knowledge, a message left by a long-forgotten guardian. Reverence and fear filled their hearts simultaneously. A distant howl echoed through the mist. Wolves prowled nearby, their eyes glinting faintly. Monks adjusted their cloaks, gripping manuscripts tightly, moving silently forward. Rain began to fall again, cold and steady. Manuscripts were further wrapped in protective cloth. Each step became a careful negotiation with mud, slippery roots, and unseen obstacles. The path widened briefly, revealing the ruins of a small village. Smoke from distant chimneys suggested life, yet inquisitors could be nearby. The monks paused, deciding the safest route forward. In a narrow alley, a shadow shifted, drawing their attention. Quick glances revealed nothing threatening. Suspense hung in the air. Vigilance had become second nature. At dusk, they arrived at the base of a steep hill. The climb promised fatigue and risk, but the manuscript's destination lay beyond the summit. Courage and determination propelled their weary bodies. Candlelight flickered from hidden niches along the path. Symbols etched into stone reminded the monks of previous generations' dedication. Each step was both physical and spiritual. Night fell completely, wrapping the world in darkness. Monks set up a temporary camp, manuscripts carefully arranged on stone slabs. The air was thick with anticipation and quiet resolve. At midnight, distant voices echoed through the valley. Inquisitors were on the move. The Brotherhood held their breath, manuscripts pressed against chests. Lightning illuminated the surrounding peaks, revealing the path ahead. Wind howled, chilling the monks to the bone. Each manuscript felt heavier, as though carrying the weight of history itself. One courier tripped on uneven terrain. Quick hands rescued the manuscripts from falling. Tension eased slightly as the group continued, hearts still racing. A river blocked their way, swollen from recent storms. Crossing required careful balance on slippery stones. Manuscripts were lifted and carried across with meticulous care. The monks paused briefly at the riverbank, observing distant lights. Villagers or enemies. Decisions had to be swift and silent. Every observation mattered. A flash of movement in the trees startled them. A fox or a thief? Silence prevailed as the monks remained perfectly still. Even a minor misstep could be fatal. Snow began to fall, dusting the path and making the terrain treacherous. The monks pressed onward, boots sinking into icy mud. Manuscripts were wrapped and cradled as sacred relics. The wind carried strange echoes, like whispers of forgotten guardians. Each monk felt the weight of history and responsibility. The manuscripts represented centuries of human knowledge. Dawn revealed the summit ahead, shrouded in fog. The final stretch awaited, a combination of physical endurance and spiritual courage. Every monk steadied themselves, ready for the challenge. A hidden path led into the cliffside, narrow and perilous. Stones shifted beneath feet. Manuscripts were held with reverent care, lantern light casting dramatic shadows on rough stone walls. The Brotherhood entered a hidden valley, the manuscript's final resting place. The terrain was rough, cliffs surrounding them like protective walls. Relief mixed with anticipation and lingering fear. Candlelight illuminated the ancient alcoves of the valley, perfect for storing the manuscripts. Symbols etched into stone guided their placement. The monks whispered prayers of gratitude and caution. Suddenly, distant shouts echoed from the forest entrance. Inquisitors had discovered part of their path. The monks froze, weighing options quickly. The youngest monk suggested an alternate route through narrow caves. Manuscripts were transferred silently. Shadows enveloped them, creating a tense corridor of light and dark. One misstep caused a small rock to tumble. The sound echoed, hearts pounding. Still, the group moved carefully, aware of the stakes. Inside the caves, dripping water created reflections on walls. Manuscripts rested on carefully placed stone ledges. The monks' expressions mixed relief, exhaustion, and vigilance. A low growl resonated from deeper in the cave. Wolves had tracked them. The monks huddled, prepared to defend the manuscripts at all costs. Lantern light flickered, casting dancing shadows on rough stone. Hands gripped manuscripts as though holding the world itself. Silence was their only shield. Dawn broke outside, revealing a glimmer of hope through the cave entrance. The path was almost clear, but vigilance remained essential. Every movement was deliberate. The monks reached an open plateau, manuscripts safely in hand. Wind carried whispers of distant dangers. Relief and determination mingled as they prepared for the final leg. The Brotherhood moved along a narrow cliff path. Manuscripts pressed close to their chests. Below, the ravine yawned, a reminder of one misstep's deadly consequence. A sudden screech of birds startled the monks. Shadows shifted, revealing glimpses of distant inquisitors. The monks froze, letting their breath calm before proceeding. Lightning illuminated a distant tower where enemies patrolled. The group adjusted their route, choosing shadowed terrain. Manuscripts remained carefully wrapped, untarnished. Snow began to fall again, covering footprints and masking their movements. The monks moved cautiously, each step calculated for both safety and speed. A hidden ledge offered a brief resting point. Candles flickered inside small rock niches. Manuscripts were set carefully, hands hovering protectively, as if waiting for permission to release. The wind howled down the cliffs, tugging at cloaks and hoods. Each monk gripped manuscripts tighter, bracing against nature's fury. Distant voices approached from below. Shadows flickered in torchlight. The monks pressed against stone walls, invisible, hearts pounding. A scout ran past, oblivious to the monks above. Silent sighs of relief echoed in the group. The manuscripts were safe, for now. The path narrowed to a single ledge with sheer drops on either side. Every movement required precision. Manuscripts were cradled as sacred relics, every step a test of faith. Moonlight glinted on wet stone, casting silver highlights across the monks' robes. Their eyes scanned for danger, but also for the promise of completing their mission. The monks arrived at an ancient gate, carved with protective symbols. Manuscripts were adjusted in their packs. The gate seemed to welcome, yet warn simultaneously. A sudden gust blew through the valley, scattering leaves and debris. Monks pressed themselves against stone walls, keeping manuscripts intact. Inside the gate, a hidden passage led to a cavern. The walls glimmered faintly with mineral veins. Manuscripts were carried reverently, as if walking on sacred ground. they encountered a fallen tree blocking the path. Quick collaboration moved manuscripts safely past the obstacle. Sweat and tension marked their faces. Candlelight flickered along cavern walls, illuminating ancient carvings. Each symbol seemed to tell a story of guardians before them. The monks whispered prayers in silent reverence. A distant roar echoed through the cavern, water cascading from hidden streams. The monks adjusted lanterns, keeping manuscripts dry and secure. The path opened into a wide chamber with natural alcoves. Manuscripts were carefully arranged for temporary storage. Relief was palpable, yet caution remained. Outside, a storm approached, thunder rumbling across the cliffs. The monks' robes clung to damp skin. Every step forward demanded vigilance and unity. A cave-in in a smaller passage reminded them of fragility. Dust and rocks fell, but manuscripts were protected. The monks breathed, recognizing luck and careful planning had saved them. The chamber offered a moment of calm. Candlelight cast shadows on ancient stone. Monks rested briefly, reviewing the sacred texts to ensure nothing was damaged. The final approach involved a steep ascent. Monks clutched manuscripts tightly, boots slipping on wet stone. Each step felt heavier than the last. Distant cries of inquisitors reached their ears. The Brotherhood froze, blending with the rocky terrain. Silence became their shield. A loose stone tumbled down a slope, echoing like thunder. Hearts raced, but manuscripts remained untouched. Coordination and focus saved them again. At the summit, the path leveled briefly. A panoramic view of the valley below unfolded. Relief mixed with awe at nature's grandeur. Monks paused, checking manuscripts for damage. Each scroll remained pristine, testament to their dedication. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain and pine. Robes whipped around them. Lanterns flickered, casting elongated shadows. A sudden storm forced the monks to seek shelter in a natural alcove. Manuscripts were arranged safely, bodies pressed against walls. Rain hammered stone, echoing like war drums. Lightning illuminated a hidden enemy patrol nearby. The monks remained motionless, hearts pounding. The manuscripts were their sacred duty, worth any risk. Hours passed in tense stillness. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, prayers whispered softly, binding courage and patience together. Dawn broke, revealing the final stretch of their journey. Clouds parted, revealing the hidden valley that would house the manuscripts. The Brotherhood descended carefully into the valley. Manuscripts were cradled reverently, as if carrying the weight of centuries. Natural alcoves and hidden crevices provided safe placement. Each manuscript was arranged meticulously, protected from light, water, and prying eyes. The monks stood back, observing their work. Relief and pride mingled with exhaustion. Their mission had been accomplished. Sunlight filtered through the valley, illuminating the sacred texts. The glow seemed to bless the Brotherhood's efforts. The youngest monk traced his fingers over the carved symbols, feeling connection to guardians past. Every page preserved was a victory for knowledge. Outside, birds sang, and the valley seemed alive again. Nature and human diligence had converged to protect wisdom. The monks gathered, silently acknowledging each other's courage. The Brotherhood's unity had been tested and proven. A gentle breeze carried whispers of future generations. Knowledge would survive, hidden but ready to enlighten. The Brotherhood prepared to leave. The valley now a secure sanctuary. Manuscripts rested, their legacy intact. As they walked away, sun rising behind the mountains. Hope and determination filled their hearts. The mission was complete, but the responsibility of safeguarding wisdom would continue forever. The Silent Pen Brotherhood's tale might wrap up here, but their wisdom sticks around. If you loved this journey, hit subscribe for more hidden stories.